The flames roared like a demon unchained, devouring the old Victorian house on Elm Street in a single merciless gulp. Matthew's scream tore through the night. "Michael! God, no, Michael!" But it was swallowed by the crackle of collapsing beams and the wail of sirens too late to matter. In that inferno, his twin brother, his mirror, his secret half, burned away, leaving only ash and a hole in Matthew's chest that no amount of rain could quench. Matthew collapsed to his knees on the dew-slick lawn, the acrid smoke clawing at his throat as firefighters dragged him back from the edge. His hands, blistered from pounding on the locked door, trembled against the grass. Michael had been inside, alone after their blowout fight. The one where Michael finally spat out the truth. "I'm gay, Matt. I've always been gay, and I can't pretend anymore." Their father's Bible-thumping rage had echoed through the family home just hours before, disowning Michael on the spot, shoving him out into the storm with nothing but a duffel bag and a slammed door. Michael had run to this rented crash pad in Brooklyn, texting Matthew one last plea. "Come get me, bro. I need you." But Matthew, coward that he was, had hesitated, frozen by the weight of their shared childhood lies. The way they'd both buried their attractions under layers of football games and barbecues in their small Ohio town. Now that hesitation was a pyre and Michael was gone. The medical examiner's report came 3 days later, cold words on a form. Accidental fire, faulty wiring in a century-old house. No signs of foul play. But Matthew knew better. Grief twisted into rage, a venomous whisper in his ear. "This is your fault. You let him go alone." He punched the wall of his cramped Queens apartment until his knuckles split, blood streaking the faded wallpaper like accusations. Friends, the few who stuck around after the news hit the local papers back home, tried to pull him from the abyss. "Give it time, Matt," his buddy Jake said over lukewarm coffee at the diner. But time was the enemy now, stretching empty hours into nights where Matthew dreamed of Michael's laugh, that crooked grin they shared, the way his twin's hand had lingered just a second too long on his shoulder during their last hug. Funeral was a blur of black suits and pitying stares. Their parents didn't show. Dad's voice on the phone had been steel. He made his choices. "We're done with that shame." Mom sobbed quietly into the receiver, but her silence was louder. Matthew stood alone at the graveside in Greenwood Cemetery, the autumn leaves swirling like confetti for a party no one attended. He scattered Michael's ashes himself, the urn heavy in his arms, whispering promises to the wind. "I'll fix this, Mike." Somehow. That's when the lawyer called, voice clipped and professional, Elias Hawthorne, estate attorney from a midtown firm. "Mr. Reynolds, your brother's will. We need to discuss the beneficiaries." Matthew arrived at the office on a gray Tuesday, the kind of day New York chews up and spits out. The leather chairs creaked under him as Hawthorne slid a manila envelope across the polished desk. "Michael updated this just last month. After, well, you know." The lawyer's eyes flicked away, uncomfortable. Matthew's fingers shook as he broke the seal, unfolding the crisp pages. There it was, everything to Matthew. Their shared savings from odd jobs, the beat-up guitar Michael pawned dreams on, even the rights to that half-finished novel Michael scribbled in coffee-stained notebooks. But then, the kicker buried in Clause 3. A trust fund, modest but earmarked, for the education and care of Elias James Whitaker, son of my heart, though not of my blood. If anything happens to me, Matthew, find him. Tell him he's family. Elias James Whitaker. A boy Matthew had never heard of, never met. The name hit like a sucker punch, stealing his breath. Who the hell was this kid? Michael's will didn't elaborate, just coordinates. A faded Polaroid tucked into the fold. Michael grinning wide, arms slung around a lanky teen with messy blonde curls and freckles like scattered stars. Both of them in Central Park, summer sun gilding their edges. On the back, in Michael's looping scrawl, Eli 16. "My little bro from the center. Don't let him fade." The center? Matthew's mind raced. Michael volunteered at a youth shelter in Harlem, one of those LGBTQ plus havens for runaways and rejects. Had he been mentoring this boy in secret? Building a bond while Matthew played it safe? Burying his own truths under spreadsheets at his dead-end marketing gig? Betrayal burned hot in Matthew's gut, sharper than the fire's aftermath. "You had another family? And you didn't tell me?" He stormed out of the office, the envelope clutched like a grenade. The subway ride home blurred into a haze of fluorescent lights and rattling cars, strangers' faces melting into ghosts. Back in his apartment, He pinned the photo to the fridge with a Nix magnet, staring it down over a bottle of cheap bourbon. Elias, Eli, looked so much like the boys Michael used to sneak glances at in high school locker rooms, the ones that made their twin bond crackle with unspoken tension. Matthew had felt it too, that pull toward the same shadows, but they'd vowed silence, twins protecting twins in a world that would have crushed them. By dawn, resolve hardened. He'd honor the will, track down this ghost kid, even if it gutted him further. A quick Google led to the shelter, Rainbow Bridge Youth Center. He called, voice rough from disuse. I'm Matthew Reynolds, Michael's brother. I need to speak with Elias Whitaker. The intake coordinator, a no-nonsense woman named Lena, paused. Eli's not here anymore. Aged out last month, turned 18. But he left to forwarding. Well, it's complicated. You family? Matthew swallowed the lump. Yeah, blood or not. It took 3 days of dead ends, bouncing emails, a tip from an old volunteer who remembered Eli's sharp wit and sharper walls. Finally, a P.O. box in Astoria, Queens, and a handwritten note slipped inside. If you're reading this, Mike's gone for real. Don't come looking unless you mean it. Matthew's heart stuttered. The kid knew. Of course he did. The shelter grapevine buzzed faster than traffic on the FDR. He penned a reply, words spilling raw. I mean it. Michael's will brought me here. We need to talk. Coffee? My treat. Matt. Days ticked by, each one a nail in his patience until the response. A time, a place. The Beanstalk Cafe on Ditmars Boulevard, noon Saturday. Matthew arrived early, nursing a black coffee that tasted like regret. The bell above the door jingled at exactly 12, and in walked Elias, taller than the photo suggested, all lean limbs and wary eyes the color of storm clouds. His blonde hair was cropped short now, a fresh scar snaking along his jaw from God knows what street scrap. He scanned the room like a cornered animal, then locked on Matthew. Recognition flickered, mixed with something fiercer. Anger? Grief? You look just like him, Eli said, sliding into the booth without preamble, voice low and edged with Brooklyn grit. The eyes. It's freaky. Matthew nodded, throat tight. Yeah, we were identical. Past tense. The words hung heavy, and Eli's gaze softened a fraction, just enough to let the humanity peek through. They ordered lattes for Eli, who admitted a weakness for foam art. Plain drip for Matthew, who couldn't stomach sweetness anymore. Conversation started jagged, like broken glass. Eli recounting how he met Michael at the center 2 years back. A scrawny 16-year-old fresh from a foster bounce after his mom's overdose. He saw me fighting some asshole in the alley behind the shelter. Didn't judge. Just handed me a sandwich and said, punch smarter next time, kid. Aim for the throat. Eli's laugh was brittle, but real, cracking the ice. Michael had been Eli's anchor, teaching him guitar chords on rainy afternoons, sneaking him into indie flicks at the Angelica, whispering that it was okay to like boys, to dream bigger than survival. He talked about you sometimes, Eli admitted, tracing the rim of his mug. His twin, the steady one. The guy who'd get it, eventually. Matthew's chest ached at that. Michael's faith in him, unwavering even when he deserved none. But then Eli's expression darkened. He said you two had secrets, twin stuff, that you were in the closet too, but too scared to crack it open. The words landed like embers on dry tinder. Matthew recoiled, heat flushing his neck. That's not... I mean, it's complicated, but it wasn't not really. He dated women in college, perfunctory and passionless, always with Michael's knowing glances in the rearview. After graduation, the city swallowed him whole, and he let it. Nights at Pulse, the gay bar in Hell's Kitchen, where he'd watch from the shadows, nursing beers and crushes that never bloomed. He came out to me first, Matthew confessed, voice barely above the cafe's hum. Last month, our folks lost it. Dad called him an abomination. I froze, told him to wait, to think it through. Then the fire. Eli's eyes narrowed, judgment sharp as a switchblade. So you let him run, alone. The accusation stung, true as gospel. They sat in charged silence, the air thick with what-ifs. Eli pushed back his chair abruptly. Look, man, Mike left me that trust 'cause he knew I'd burn through cash on dumb shit otherwise. Art supplies mostly. I'm sketching my way out of this hellhole. But you're his blood. Don't half-ass this. He scribbled an address on a napkin, a walk-up in Astoria and stood. If you want to talk Real, come by. Bring stories, not excuses. Matthew watched him go, the bell jingling like a taunt. That night, sleep evaded him, Eli's face superimposing over Michael's in fevered dreams. The next morning, he dug out Michael's old sketchbook from a box under the bed. Pages filled with charcoal renderings of cityscapes, hidden figures in the margins. A boy with curls, unmistakably Eli, captured in quiet moments of vulnerability. One drawing gutted him. A self-portrait of the twins as kids, arms linked, but Michael's face smudged out, like he tried to erase the pain of separation. He showed up at Eli's door unannounced, sketchbook in hand, heart hammering like a bass drum. The building smelled of curry and laundry detergent, stairs creaking under his boots. Eli answered in paint-splattered overalls, surprise widening his eyes before he stepped aside. Bold move, Reynolds. The apartment was a chaos of canvases and take-out boxes, sunlight slanting through grimy windows to spotlight Eli's latest piece. A fiery abstract, oranges and blacks swirling into a phoenix rising. Inspired by the news? Eli muttered, wiping turpentine from his hands. Mike's fire felt like he was screaming through it. They spent the afternoon trading stories, Michael's mostly. How he'd drag Matthew to drag brunches in the village, both of them giggling behind fake names. How Michael confessed his first kiss at 14, a fumbling thing with the neighbor boy, and Matthew admitted his own confusion, the way he'd stare too long at the quarterback's sweat-slicked back. We were each other's alibi, Matthew said, flipping through the sketchbook. Covering tracks. Eli leaned in close, breath warm on Matthew's shoulder, pointing to a hidden detail. Two figures entwined in shadow. He drew you like that. Lovers, almost. The air shifted, charged with the ghost of what could be. Eli's hand brushed Matthew's, accidental at first, then lingering. Matthew's pulse thundered, fear and want colliding. I can't, he whispered, pulling back. Not yet. Not with him gone. Eli's face crumpled. Not in rejection, but understanding. Then go slow, Matt. For him. For us. He didn't push, just offered a beer from the mini-fridge, and they talked until dusk, the city lights winking on like hesitant stars. Weeks blurred into a fragile routine. Matthew showed up at Eli's studio 3 times a week, bringing groceries when the kids' funds dipped, or vinyl records Michael loved. Bowie, of course, for the glitter and grit. Eli taught him to hold a brush, their fingers overlapping on the handle, laughter bubbling up when paint smeared cheeks. It was tentative, this dance around grief's edges. Shared silences over takeout tie, Eli's head on Matthew's shoulder during late-night movies, the press of bodies innocent until it wasn't. But shadows loomed. Matthew's job soured. His boss, a smug prick named Harlan, caught wind of the family drama and started sidelining him, muttering about distractions with that oily smile. At home, voicemails from Dad piled up. Get your head straight, son. Don't let that pervert's mess drag you down. Matthew deleted them, but the poison seeped. And Eli had walls thicker than Brooklyn brownstone. One night, after a gallery crawl in Chelsea where a curator dismissed Eli's work as raw but unrefined, he lashed out. You think you get it? Pitying the poor queer orphan? Michael's dead, and you're just his replacement prop. The words sliced deep, reopening wounds. Matthew stormed out into the rain-slick streets, hailing a cab back to Queens, chest heaving with sobs he couldn't voice. Betrayal, his mind snarled Eli's, for wielding Michael's memory like a weapon. His own, for letting want bloom amid the ashes. He didn't call for days, burying himself in overtime shifts and solitary runs along the East River, the water's churn mirroring his turmoil. Eli broke first, pounding on Matthew's door at midnight, soaked and wild-eyed. I'm sorry, he gasped, water pooling on the welcome mat. I saw red. You remind me so much of him, and it hurts like hell. Matthew pulled him inside, towels and tea following, their apologies tumbling out in a rush. I like you, Matthew admitted, voice cracking as they sat cross-legged on the living room floor. More than I should. It's wrong too soon. Eli cupped his face, thumb tracing the scar on his lip from the fire night. Nothing's wrong about feeling, Matt. Mike taught me that. Their first kiss was inevitable, a slow unraveling in the dim lamplight. Lips tentative, then urgent, hands mapping unfamiliar terrain with reverence. It was messy, born of salt tears and shared scars, but real, anchoring them against the storm. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of laundry soap and possibility, Eli whispered, "He knew. About us, said you'd find your way." But fate, cruel as ever, had one more twist. A month in, bliss fracturing under daily life, came the letter, from their father, forwarded through the lawyer. Not reconciliation, but a summons. Family meeting. Ohio. Now. Matthew's stomach nodded. Dad had found out. Somehow the will's details leaked, or a nosy relative spilled. "Bring the boy if you must," the note ended. "We'll sort this abomination." Eli wanted to go, fire in his veins. "Let me face it with you. For Mike." Matthew hesitated, old fears clawing back. The disownment that killed his twin. The rejection that could shatter this fragile new bond. But love, raw and insistent, won. They flew to Cleveland on a red-eye, the Midwest unfolding flat and unforgiving below. The house on Maple Drive hadn't changed. White pickets, American flag limp in the humid air. Mom met them at the door, eyes hollowed by regret, pulling Matthew into a hug that smelled of mothballs and unspoken sorries. Dad loomed in the living room, Bible open on his lap like armor, face thunderous. "So," he growled, eyes raking Eli, "this the stray your brother's dragging home?" Eli stiffened beside Matthew, but held his tongue. Matthew stepped forward, voice steady for the first time. "His name's Elias, Michael's mentee. His family, like he asked." Dad's laugh was bitter bark. "Family? That boy's poison. Just like your twin. Coming out ruined him, drove him to that fire, mark my words. God's judgment." The room exploded. Eli lunged, words flying. "Judgment? You threw him out like trash. He died alone because of bigots like you." Mom gasped, hand to mouth. Dad surged up, veins bulging. Matthew shoved between them, heart pounding. "Enough. Michael's gone because we failed him. All of us." He turned to his father, tears hot. "I loved him. And yeah, Dad, I'm gay too. Have been since high school. He protected me and I let him down. But Eli? He's the best thing Mike left me." Silence crashed, thick as smoke. Dad's face twisted, rage, then something fracturing. A glimpse of the man who'd once tossed baseballs in the yard. "You'd throw away everything? For this?" Matthew met his gaze. "I almost did. For you. But life's too short for lies." Mom sobbed openly now, reaching for Eli's hand. "He was so proud of you, Matthew. Forgive me." Dad sank into his chair, defeated, the Bible slipping to the floor. They left at dawn, Ohio shrinking in the rearview, a tentative truce in their wake. Mom's promise of letters, Dad's gruff drive safe. Back in New York, the city embraced them like an old friend, horns blaring approval. Eli's first gallery show landed a month later, his Phoenix series selling out, Matthew's proud grin immortalized in a candid snap. They moved in together that spring, Eli's canvases crowding Matthew's walls, their bed a sanctuary of whispered dreams. Michael's ghost lingered, gentle now, a laugh in the wind, a chord struck on the guitar. One evening, as they walked hand in hand through Central Park, the same paths Michael and Eli once trod, Matthew paused at the Bethesda fountain. "He named you in his will for a reason," he said, pulling Eli close. "To save us both." Eli smiled, that crooked grin Michael would have loved. "Nah, to remind us we're enough." In the end, it wasn't resurrection, but rebirth. From ashes, from secrets spilled like ink on canvas. Matthew lost his twin to fire and fear, but gained a love that burned brighter, human in its flaws, American in its relentless hope. And somewhere Michael watched, grinning wide,